Greetings and welcome back. We are still modeling out our Viper, so let's just jump right in and continue. Now, in the last video I mentioned, or at least I think I mentioned, that I didn't really care for how this extra triangle was being created here. It's just another vertex I have to manage, so I'm going to go ahead and start getting rid of that. And that pulls that back to about there, which I think will do for now. This we could probably squash down a little more, but I'm going to refrain from that. Now, the next thing I want to handle is this difference in elevation, which, I mean, we can see in a couple of different pictures of the Viper. If I pull this over from the other screen, you can see that we do have a little bit of a gap there between these. And we can make a geometric gap. That's not really a problem. But the way we're going to do it is like so. Let's go up to the top view. Let's switch over to wireframe. Let's jump over to faces, and I'm going to grab all of the faces of the lower level. And I think that'll about do it. And all we're going to do is a quick extrusion. Like so, and we didn't even move them very far. Now this does create a whole bunch of faces around the edges that we don't need, so we need to get rid of those first. So let's carefully go through and take care of these leading edges. X, goodbye, thank you. Now you can see we have this gap in place. Now we can play with this gap and get a nice differentiation in our shapes. Let's switch over to vertices, and we can start kind of shaping this from the side. Now it seems really thin right up here, but it is present, so I will leave it. We could always merge it later on if we change our minds anyway. I'm going to pull it out, flare it outward just a little bit so that texturing can kind of catch it. And we can pull this down like so, and this can go up. Pull this forward, maybe pull this forward a little as well. Let's just pull this up. And that, well, it's going to be kind of fun to hit that just exactly the right way. We're probably going to have to eyeball it from our perspective view, but that's alright. We can manage. See how that looks from the top view. I'm probably messing it up horribly from the top view. And in fact I am. That's okay. Let's focus more on what the top view says. What do you say? Just in terms of placement. We'll deal with elevation using our side view and common sense. And sorry if I occasionally get a little quiet. Sometimes I just kind of lose myself in the moment of flipping vertices around. And those of you who have watched modeling videos with me in the past are probably used to this behavior, but I understand that it's generally a good idea for me to say something from time to time just so you know that the video hasn't lost its audio or something. Alright. Now let's get out of here, take a look from back here. Not too bad, not too bad. Okay. Now, let's see, if I get out of here, if we smooth the whole thing out, it does look pretty bad. If I flatten it out, it gives us a better indication of what our geometry is doing for the time being. But what I'm going to end up having to do is systematically go through and smooth and unsmooth various edges. which is fine. We'll deal with that a little bit later down the way. What I can do, at least for the moment, is, let's see here, if I switch over to edges, it doesn't handle that on the edge level the way Maya does. Honestly, I kind of hoped it would, but I didn't think it would. Oh well. I don't know if it'll do it at the face level either. Yep, it'll do it at the face level, which is good enough for me. I wonder if this would work. I haven't really played much with smoothing and flattening shapes, but I wonder if I just flatten all these out, and we get out of here, see, I can still see that seam right there in between these two panels, and of course between these two. I wonder if I just grab these two and I was to hit smooth with just them, then is it like a global smooth? Yeah, it's like a global smooth. Well, that doesn't help me much. But that's okay. I'm not going to stress right this moment. I have too many other things to stress about. Such as, if I come over here to the front view, how badly is all of this stuff lining up or not lining up? Wow, I can hardly tell what I'm looking at. Let's switch over to vertices, and what have I got here? Okay, well that's not too bad then, because that means that just needs to be brought down. And overall, that's not looking too bad, at least right there. Now, over here, we've got this little interesting part. We have some shapes that could be adjusted slightly. And that can be pulled up. That can be pulled over. Make sure that's what I think it is. And it certainly is. Pull this up. Pull that up. And let's get back over here to the front, and this will be really, really thin. So that'll just get lifted up to about there. Okay, so we've got that. Now, there's going to be a lot of tweaking that needs to take place with pretty much everything that's going on in the wing right now. I mean, I'm seeing problem areas all back here, along the top, just all over the place. There's some tweaking. But I'm not going to worry about it right this second. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of keep rocking, and then I'll have a bit of a tweaking pass a little later on. Maybe after I get the underside of the wing in place. That looks better. That's lined up pretty well. Now if we come out here, we can go ahead and start curving around and taking care of the back of the wing. I am going to assume that the top view of the wing is right as opposed to the back view. In fact, it looks like the top, or this side view maybe could be nudged forward a little bit or something, but I'm not going to beat myself up too much over that at the moment. There's just no reason. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and clean up this rounding back here on the back of the wing before I go much further, though, because I do want to add in just a little more rounding here on this back edge, and adding that in without this stuff already being cleaned up would just be stupid. And I don't want to be stupid. There's no point in being stupid. That does kind of remind me, though. I am tempted to start merging stuff back so I don't have so many edges. What does this thing look like underneath, I wonder? It's just got like the one straight edge. Nothing is crazy over the top is what happens on the top of the wing. So yeah, let's do this. Let's grab these and we'll hit Alt M and merge at last. Hey, you. Wow, that was less than ideal. Alright, so that takes care of that a little bit. Halfway tempted. Well, I could start merging here, but I think I can use that edge. I think it's doing its job reasonably well. Okay. So, obviously we still have some areas where the rounding looks pretty nasty that we need to kind of clean up a little bit. So I'll focus on that for a few moments. Actually, what looks like is going on here, as clean as this looks, if we look at it from the side, it really looks like that's sticking up way too high. I know that I don't want to change this trailing edge at all because that seems to be lined up very well in the top view. So what I need to do instead is move all this stuff forward to compensate. So like this, for instance. Well, actually, before I move that, this has got to go. And we'll pull this up. Now we can pull this forward and just kind of trail these out a little more neatly. So we may end up merging these together right up here. It looks like we've got enough detail to be able to do that. Yeah, let's do that. Say right about here. Nope. And it just kind of smooths things out to do that, which is always nice. Now if we jump back over here to the side view, we can still drop an edge right in here and then use this to get just a little more rounding here at the back of the wing. Alright. Alright, so with that done, let's go ahead and start focusing on getting more toward the underside of the wing. I think there's going to be some more tweaking that's going to take place here, but I think for the time being we've got something that's close enough where we can kind of move forward. Get some other things done, so I'll start back here, and I don't want to build this whole thing at once, so I'm just going to start off. Let's just do. I'll do 2 edges. I was going to do 1, and then I thought about 3, so I'll split the difference and just do 2. And I'll hit extrude, and we'll just pop that down to about here. If I jump over to the front view, we can get an idea of about how far down these guys need to go eventually. So this is going to need to be pulled in here, and this will be pulled in here. This will be brought up like so. We'll kind of smooth things off a little bit, simplify just a little. Okay. Now let's see if we can also work in a couple of different directions. We can pull in from the back as well. I'm sorry, pull in from the front at the same time. Now I'm flipping around to a couple of different pictures. That's pretty good. Irrelevant, irrelevant, irrelevant. Very bad lighting on that one. Yeah, I already got some of those. That's sort of helpful. You can see how far down the thickness of the wing is going to drop. That is some pretty far drop in action right there. So. And that's pretty good. This is also something useful. So you can see where we're going to have a little bit of a gap. You can see how that gap meets up with the front of the fuselage. You can also see how the front of our fuselage dips down a little more than it probably should. We need to maybe tuck that up a little higher. But it's a pretty good place to start, I think. So we'll put this back away. Let's jump over to the side view again, if I get focus on Blender, because then it works better. Let me go to Mesh, Show Hide, and we'll show everything that's hidden, and you can see what I'm talking about. We have this part of the fuselage that's sort of dipping down, and I think we need to fix that. So let's deselect, hit B, grab these vertices at the very least, and I'm going to rotate them just a little and slide them up. And that was easy enough. And of course we can turn this back on and see what this looks like from the other side, which is great. Maybe grab these verts here and pull them in so there's not quite so much of an outward flare to the shape, but even if there is, I doubt that's really the end of the world. Okay, now, some craziness already starting to kind of go on here. Let me pull this back a little more, and what I'm going to do is a little bit of common sense interpretation. Well, I say that with tongue-in-cheek. I'm just going to kind of interpolate the shape a little bit off the top of my head. So we see in our pictures that right up here toward the front, this is where the gap in the wing is going to end. So we can go ahead and pull up that far. And if I bring this over to show you what I'm looking at, it already dips down to right about the, if you consider this to be like a crease, and we've got something very close to that crease on our model already. We dip down very close to that, and we just start to swoop back up, and then this gap stops. And then we just focus at that point really on just the front of the fuselage. So we can actually build it that way as well. So we'll pull this to right about here. Let me switch over to vertices so I can get these placed with a little more accuracy. And then I'm going to hit Control R. We'll add an edge about here, which I'll pull down a little. And then we can switch over to those few verts right there. Slide those in, like so. Alright, now if I switch to the underside view, this is a part where it would probably be worth my while to Control-Tab-F and grab just these faces for now, go to Mesh, Show Hide, and Hide Unselected. And I just kind of work from here. So now if I switch back over to vertices, we can see, well, if I, let me hide out the mirror. There we go. That'll make things a lot easier on me. So, yeah, if we pull this over, pull this maybe back a little bit, and I'm thinking, let's see if we go to edges, if I grab this edge, and we do an extrusion, and an extrusion, and then we'll switch over to vertices, grab these two verts, Alt-M at last, U and U, Alt-M at last, Now that causes problems here, obviously, but nothing we can't solve with a few vertex maneuvers. Okay, so now it looks like if I grab these two verts here at the front, we're just a little too low. So we can pull those up. Okay. Alright, back to the underside, and now that we have those all lined up, let's clean that up. Let's clean this up. Okay, now switch back over to edges, grab you, and you, and you, and we'll extrude out. So let's just go to right about here. No, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go all the way to the end. That's how I'm going to do this. And then let's switch back over to vertices. Pull this in. Pull this in. Pull that back to about there. Pull this guy to... Well, that's a little bit forward, so we'll estimate it being right about there. We're going to have to weld it all together anyhow. Okay, now, a couple of things. Let's come out here, let's go to our front view, and obviously this is problematic. So we'll pull all this down, scale in Z, and flatten everything out. And just sort of get that lined up along the underside of the wing as best we can, knowing full well that we can't get it too well because there's some curvature here. We don't have the detail for curvature, at least not yet. But we can fix some of the problems that we see already, which is good. Okay, now, excuse me, back to the underside view. Let's hit Control R, and we'll drop in an edge loop here. We'll grab these two vertices and pull them forward. Now, I'm not lining them right up on the wing. I'm going a little bit forward because we know there's a bit of a discrepancy there. So we might as well take it into account while we work. That's all looking pretty good. We need another one, Control R, right about here, and we can take this guy and slide him back. Take this and slide him back. Now these I can line up. If there's even a discrepancy on the model there, really, I will lose absolutely no sleep over it whatsoever. So, fit that in. Okay, now, what happens if I go to Mesh, Show Hide, Show Hidden? It's getting us there. It's pretty close. Alright, well, let's see. What do we need in order to really get this to start welding together? We can already start removing some redundant detail, because like here, we have this edge that goes all the way back, but it doesn't necessarily straighten out the wing at all. So we can grab here and here, Alt-M, merge to last, Shift-R, Shift-R, and that's lining up pretty well. So we have one edge, one edge, one edge. Looks like everything's actually going to line up pretty well. So let's do something about it. Let's grab you and you. I'm going to assume the top is actually more correct than the bottom. And we got to merge to somebody, and I don't want to go to the center. So Alt-M, go to last, Shift-R, or don't. Okay, and that's all welded back together. So I have this contiguous shape up underneath the wing, which is very cool. Now, let's go back to the underside, and I need to show only what I'm working on yet again, so Control-Tab-F, And boom, 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 ba-da-da-da-da. Okay, sorry. And let's see, mesh, and hit show hide and hide unselected, and that's all fantacular. Now, I'm just going to pull this out until we get to this seam up here at the front where we're going to start working on the frontal part of the fuselage. So, let's switch over to edges, Control-Tab E, boom, 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 da-da-da. Extrude, pull this out, switch over to vertices, hit Z to go into wireframe mode, and then we'll just start getting these relatively lined up. Just get them close. We're going to be merging with what's already there on top anyway, so if you're off by a little, it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. But it probably will help me a little bit if I go to, at least for a moment, show hidden, so I can kind of see what the detail's doing here, because we have that, and he lines up, and then this guy lines up. And this guy really doesn't, but that's okay, because we're going to need that to start branching over into the central part of the fuselage, which will all... And, well, as a matter of fact, what I can do, is take a look how this is coming along. It's actually lining up pretty well, all things considered. I could probably, if I was really interested in the idea, and I'll toy with it, I'll see where it goes, in getting all of this stuff merged together as one piece. I don't really know if I like the idea, but it would create a much cleaner edge in here, or at least it would create a seam here in between these two pieces that I could define, as opposed to being kind of a slave to how it all gets attached. So I'll probably be looking into that here in short order, since it's already so close. But I don't always like modeling that way from the start. I find if you start off too early that way that you can really give yourself a headache, or at least I sometimes give myself headaches. Okay, where was I? Let's just tuck this guy in for now. Yeah, I'll probably end up doing that. Let's see if I can get all this stuff just welded together. But let's finish off the wing first. We're so close. So let's take a look at edge counts and see what we need. These are lining up okay. These are lining up okay. We're missing one edge here. These could be merged together into one, so that's less of a concern. As a matter of fact, if I grab U2, Alt-M, and I think we can do those to the center. And that looks pretty good overall. Now what I'm going to do to keep this from being too razor-edged is we're going to switch over to edges and grab U and hit F, and U and hit F, and U and hit F. Oh, woohoo, we're missing an edge. Because it got merged back at one point, which is fine. The way I'm going to fix that is we're going to, let's see, let's pick on somebody in particular. Yeah, let me grab this face here. And we'll just nuke it. Goodbye. Control R, and drop that in right about here. And then we can switch back over to, well, I've already got edges, so we can grab U, and F, and U, and U, and F. And grab these guys and hit F, and grab these guys and hit F, and you get the idea. We're just kind of filling all that in. Okay, so now if we switch over to vertices, we can just sort of, we can clean up this leading edge on the wing very nicely. And we need to clean up a lot more than that, but that's okay. You got to start somewhere, right? I don't know what I was moving there a second ago, but I probably don't want to be moving it. Let's just move this stuff. Okay, now we can start cleaning up these, which will be awesome. That's pretty close to what we need right there. Maybe just some common sense tweaking to get the shapes to line up just right, but overall that's getting the job done. Okay, well that puts us at about the 31-minute mark. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and call the video here, and in the next video we'll simply continue piecing this together. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.